because damn, I thoroughly enjoyed it and I was pleasantly surprised. Hello my sweet angels, it's your girl Jay, and today I am here with my most surprising books for 2024. Last year, it took me until July 2024 to film my 2023 wrap-up videos. So this year we are on the right track. It is still January. These are basically just the books that took me by surprise. They weren't what I saw coming, and I really ended up liking them a lot more than I thought I would. So without further ado, let us get started. The first book that I have is Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. This is by Catherine Mack, and I thought that this was so funny and so campy. A lot of the time, the narrator in this breaks that fourth wall and they're talking to you through the footnotes. I actually listened to this on audiobook, so the way that it was narrated, the footnotes were actually woven into the story, so it made it a lot more immersive in my opinion. But this basically follows an author named Eleanor, and she is currently in Paris on a book tour trying to promote her newest thriller novel. But then she finds herself in a real-life murder mystery when somebody tries to kill her ex-muse, Connor Smith. And so Eleanor has to try to unravel the clues before she is the next victim, and it is, like I said, so stinking funny. I also know that there is a second book in this series, so I'm definitely intrigued to pick it up because, like I said, I loved this. The next book that I have is Sinner's Isle. This is by Angela Montoya, and this one I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I have talked about this quite a few times on my channel at this point. I really do think that it is a 5-star read. I was taken absolutely by surprise by this book. It is essentially a Pirates of the Caribbean meets Serpent and Dove story. This follows Rosalinda, who is a Majestic. She is trapped on Sinner's Island with the rest of the Majestics, who are essentially all witches with very unique powers and abilities. She is desperate to escape this island before she is married off to the highest bidder, which means that her new husband would be able to control her powers. And then it also follows Marino, who is a pirate, and he is led to Sinner's Isle after a pendant from his late father brings him to his heart's desire. So Rosalinda immediately begins to blackmail him because her friend is in danger, so she wants to rescue her and then escape the island. I definitely want to reread this to see if it actually is a 5 out of 5 stars, but I absolutely loved the two main characters. I found them so intriguing, and the whole concept of the Majestics was just so interesting to me. I also know that this author just came out with another book about vampires and vampire slayers, so I'm definitely checking that out very soon. Next up, I have a little bit of a controversial choice. But the next book is Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton, and listen, I know that this book is completely unhinged, it is deranged, it is like not what you want from a romance book, but listen, it is a dark romance book, okay? I knew what I was getting into, and I know I shouldn't like it, and I am surprised at how much I do like this story. I will just say that I was entertained by my disbelief, truly. It basically follows Adeline. She has inherited a big mansion from her late grandmother. Adeline's mother believes that this house is haunted, so she really wants Adeline to move out. So when Adeline realizes that she is being stalked, she knows that she should be very scared, but she's a little bit intrigued, and so she decides that she is going to start playing a little bit of a cat and mouse game with her stalker, and things get very interesting very quickly. There's also a side plot about Gigi, who is Adeline's grandmother. Basically, she finds these letters and she starts reading them, and she discovers that her grandmother is murdered by her own stalker, so there's a lot of parallels in the timeline that she's living now. But like I said, I was hooked. I could not put this book down, but it is definitely a little bit fucked up. So check the trigger warnings before you're going to read this book, because it is definitely a dark romance. Next up, I have Every Time You Hear That Song by Jenna Voris, and this one is a road trip book, and I was surprised because I did not know that I liked road trip books as much as I do until I read this book. So if you have any road trip books that you think I would enjoy, please let me know, because I am very interested and intrigued to read more of them. This basically follows 17-year-old Darren. She is an aspiring journalist. Her favorite musician, Deckley Castle, has just passed away, and she has left a string of clues for her fans that will lead them to unreleased music and a cash prize. So Darren takes off on a road trip with her coworker Kendall in order to be the first to find these clues, and it's like the story of that. This is also told in alternating timelines, so we get the past in the 1960s when Deckley was first starting her career, and then we also get the road trip aspect of it. I was so invested in Deckley's chapters, which is really funny because she was definitely a very flawed character. Like, she is not a good person, but you couldn't help but root for her in her career. The ending was also such a surprise for me. Like, I did not see it coming, but I absolutely loved the direction that the story took. I honestly have not heard a lot of people talk about this book, so I would honestly love to know if you have read it, because I want to hear your thoughts on that ending. Because damn, I thoroughly enjoyed it and I was pleasantly surprised. The next two books are part of the same duology, so I'm counting them as one book, but it is The Prince and the Apocalypse and Heir Apparently by Kara McDowell. This follows a girl named Wren Wheeler, and she is on her senior trip in London. Everything is going wrong, and so she decides that she is going to make a last-ditch attempt at a good time, and she goes to this little cafe that she has wanted to visit for the longest time. And when she arrives, she finds out that it is actually closed. She ends up running into a boy, and they're kind of having this like little banter back and forth, and she discovers that he is actually the Prince of England. He is just wanting to escape from the palace for a day and his controlling mother, so Wren decides to help him evade his guards, I guess you could call them. And so they go on this like wild goose chase, and he ends up saying that if she ever needs anything, give him a call. So when the announcement that there's a meteor that is going to hit Earth and basically end the world, she is trying to get home, and she decides that she is going to call Prince Theo and get a ride on his private jet so that she can get home quicker before the meteorite hits Earth and she can say goodbye to her family. So a whole bunch of chaos ensues, but I honestly did not think going into this that it was going to be such a funny book. There is so much amazing banter in this, and the relationship between Theo and Wren is so well done. I really loved watching them grow closer together because obviously he is very sheltered and close with his feelings because he has all this royal training. So watching him open up to Wren was really nice, and by the second book, their relationship has become so complex. It was so stinking good. I ate up every second of it. I read both of these books in like 2 days because I just couldn't stop reading. There is also an adorable doggo, so what's not to love, honestly? And then the second book basically follows these two characters again. They were separated at the end of the last book, but they come back together because Wren wants her dog back that Theo has, and they end up going on an airplane, and the airplane crashes and they are stuck on a deserted island with the royal family, and it is so good. It is so good. I thought it was so much fun getting to know the royal family and all of their quirks. I love this duology. I definitely recommend. This is another one that I have not heard like anybody talk about it, so please, if you have read this book, please scream about it in the comments with me because it's so cute, so funny. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about for my most surprising books of 2024 is The School for Good and Evil. This is by Soman Chanani, and I really did not think that I was going to like this as much as I did. I thought that it was going to be a silly little middle grade book, but it ended up being so much more. It basically follows Sophie and Agatha. They are best friends, but they are completely opposite from one another. Sophie has always dreamed of attending the School for Good, which would help her fulfill her lifelong goal of becoming a princess. Agatha, on the other hand, really dislikes people in general, and so Sophie thinks that she would be the perfect fit for the School for Evil. So when they are both taken into the Endless Forest, Sophie thinks that this is finally her time, but then she is dropped into the School for Evil and Agatha is flown off to the School for Good. So Sophie decides that she will stop at nothing until she is in the proper school for good. Like I said, I thought this was just going to be a silly little story, but it ended up being something way bigger. It ended up being a story about how you can find love outside of romance and that friendship is just as valuable as being in a relationship. And I really, really love that message. Alright everybody, so those were my most surprising books for 2024. I will have my worst books and my best books up soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we get those filmed and edited in a timely manner. But let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, and I will see you all in my next video. Goodbye!